Hey, what's going on, guys? Brandon here with Texas Plinking. Don't get this mistaken for a tabletop review. I'm going to make the talking portion pretty short, and we're just going to go ahead and zero this rifle in, and we're going to shoot some medium to long range as well. So this portion will be brief. I just needed to say some specs, and I'd rather do it indoors in some air conditioning. But this video is an excuse to get out the Wink Wink Mark 14 build, just an M1A and a Sage EBR chassis. Very, very cool build though, suppressed and all that good stuff, so the modernized M1A type thing. Specifically, the excuse is the optic on top. It's a very, very impressive piece of glass. So much so to where I thought it deserved its own video. But let's just go ahead and back up a little bit. Years back, I did make a video on the predecessor to this. It was titled The Best Long Range Scope for Under $1,000. And at that point, no one knew of this manufacturer for the most part. It was an Arken Optics EP4. In fact, it was this guy right here. Different magnifications. There was a 4-16, and this here was the 6-24 by 50 millimeter objectives on both of them. And it could have been had for under $1,000, and at the time it was pretty groundbreaking. First focal plane, 34 millimeter tube. I had a lot of fun using it. The glass was really great, the reticle was sharp, great design on the reticle. So I meant it when I said it. It was the best long range scope for under $1,000. About a year or so later, they introduced another amazing optic. It was called the SH4 Gen 2. The SH lineup sits just below the EP lineup, and the EP utilizes ED glass from Japan, versus the SH is HD glass from China. Still a very, very incredible optic to look through, but the EP was always that level above. But that SH4 Gen 2, I made a video and confidently called it the best long-range scope for under $500. And as of today, I still stand by that. But they didn't touch the EP lineup for a while. That EP4 was selling so well, they couldn't even keep them in stock. But up until fairly recently, they finally went ahead and gave it a successor. So the EP4 is no longer, it's a thing of the past. It's still a phenomenal optic if you have one. But the new one, appropriately named EP5, is now out, and it is a very heavy-hitting optic. I would, of course, say below the $1,000 mark, certainly. But let's get even more specific. This is, confidently, right now I can say, just about the best long-range scope you can get for under $600. Now, this is the part of the review I would like to typically go into all the specs and explain why that is. But before I do that, I'm going to go slightly out of order to emphasize just how great of a value this is. I'm going to tell you, if you ultimately decide to get it, there's a very specific way. This applies to all the scopes, by the way, but specifically we're going to be talking about getting these for under $600, well equipped. Well, the price already is under that, but once you add it to the bag, then you need to add one more thing to the bag, and that is the combo pack. The combo pack includes these really high quality flip-up caps. It includes this empty bag that you could use as a carry bag or fill it up and use it as a rear sandbag. You get a bubble leveler, a throw lever, a cleaning cloth, some patches, but most importantly, that combo pack also includes your scope mount or your rings, whatever you decide to do for your build. But it is a 34 millimeter main tube, so 34 millimeter rings and mounts typically are very, very expensive. So in that combo pack, it allows you to get your different heights for what might work for you. So if it's on a bolt gun where it's kind of already raised a little bit, you could go with some low rings. If it's on something flat like an AR platform, you get a one-piece scope mount, and that's cool because it's got a 20 MOA built cant, which for the layman out there just means you get to use more of your mils or MOA when you're dialing long range. So I would get that one-piece mount, and that's included with that combo pack. And what I'm about to tell you actually works with any optic, but specifically we're going to talk about the value of the EP5. But with an optic, the EP5 in this sense, and the combo pack added to the cart, well, now there's two things added to the bag, so your ticket went up. But with those two in particular in the bag, find where you could redeem a code, a coupon code, and that's where you could type in Texas Plinking all in one. It's not case sensitive, so lowercase all in one, and it saves you $170, and you get free shipping, which I believe you otherwise would have anyway, but $170 off. So before tax, you're just under 590 bucks. And that's everything. Optic, bubble leveler, throw level caps, and of course the scope mount, very, very important. All of that for under $600 before tax, but it was going to ship for free. Now you could use that code Texas Plinking for any other smaller purchase that you would have had to pay shipping. By using Texas Plinking, if you're only going to get a scope mount, you'll get free shipping, just so you guys know. But that's the hack. You get both of those, the combo pack and an optic, and that's how you save $170. That's how you get the whole kit for less than $600 before tax. That's going to depend on your state, obviously. So I figured I'd tell you guys that just so you have the value in mind before we dive into the goods. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive into the goods. The majority of the specs are right in the name. It's a 5-25 by 56. So that's the zoom range. It starts at 5 and it goes to 25. So you get one more on the low end and one more on the higher end of the previous EP4 or the SH4 Gen 2. 5 to 25 is a phenomenal range. 56mm objective up front is huge. It gets a lot of light coming in. So for darker and dusk situations, definitely helps get light going. So very, very clear image, certainly. I've already mentioned this when talking about the scope mounts, but the main tube is 34mm. 5 years ago, if you wanted a 34mm scope main tube, you would have had to pay a lot of money, and I don't even know if it was going to be a first focal plane, but the fact that it's in something less than $600, fantastic. And credit to the SH4 Gen 2 is also a 34mm tube, so freaking awesome. Big old scope tube, what does it mean? Might be a little easier to look through, a little bit less of the straw effect, but the main advantage is way more elevation travel. The reticle they call VPR. It's very information rich, but it's not too in the way. I'll go ahead and display it up here just so you guys can get the idea. Very, very nice. So if you miss, you could get a quick follow-up shot because you could use a piece of that reticle. So for holding over wind and elevations, fantastic reticle. And a reticle that nice would be wasted if it wasn't on a first focal plane, which it is. First focal plane just means as you zoom in, of course, your image gets enlarged. But with it, your reticle, that keeps the math easier by keeping the relativity the same. So 3mm holdover is the same no matter if you're on 5 or 25 magnification. So nice to have a first focal plane. You've also got a zero reset, of course, and a zero stop. Zero stop, I'm really happy to see is becoming more mainstream as the last couple of years in all scopes, even on the economic line. But of course, this has a zero stop, just like all the other Arkans I've ever reviewed. But I will say, by far and away, of all the scopes I've ever messed with zero stop, the easiest zero stop to set. There's no extra things you need to key around. It's just one single Allen key that you would have needed to zero it anyway. I won't go too far into it. I'll just show you when we hit the range, but it's got a zero stop. It's very nice. I mentioned earlier the benefits of a 34mm main tube, giving you more elevation travel. Just how much? This one is the mil scope, so you get 32 mils of elevation travel, which is phenomenal. But they also offer it in MOA, which is a different unit for those of you who don't know. You either click into mils or MOA. And for that MOA scope, that is 110 minutes of elevation travel. I mentioned before as well, this has got that Japanese ED glass, which is that step above the Chinese HD glass. The last thing I'll leave you guys on, and this is the same with all Arkans from the beginning, it's only being more known now as the name gets out there, but they do have lifetime transferable warranty, so as long as they could read the serial number off of it, I believe that's all they need. And they don't care about your story and if you're the first owner, so it's no receipts needed. If you got a problem with it, whether it is from the factory or you did it yourself, threw it off a cliff, they got a great warranty. So there's that. Thankfully, I haven't needed to use a warranty from them ever before, so pretty cool. That does it for this indoor part. Let me go ahead and show you guys how to zero it, set the stop, and stretch the legs on this thing. See you guys at the range. All right, excuse the wind. I'm gonna try to shout loud enough, but I got a target out at 100 yards, so like any other optic, we're just gonna go ahead and zero it, make sure it's impacting where I want it. We're gonna do a loose zero just on some steel, but of course, ideally 100 yards, get it punching on paper and get a good group going. But this is a M1A, so it's only so accurate. Just a little high. So what I'm gonna do, a lazy way to zero, is I'm just gonna try to hold it very still and then move the reticle to where I saw the impact. So in this case, it was high of the steel at 100. That looked like it was center of the steel. Last round of that mag, I'm gonna go one more on the headshot, try to get nice and precise. Perfect. All right, so now I clicked it to where it's hitting at 100. So now I'm on these random numbers. So to zero it, we're gonna go ahead and loosen the Allen keys on the side. We're gonna start with the elevation. Loosen, don't take it all the way out. Loosen, and third one here. Now these could just come off, or you could just go ahead and rotate to show the zero, and then go ahead and tighten it down while carefully holding it to where it says zero. Make sure it doesn't move. All right, holding on that zero, get it nice and just finger tight, doesn't need to be crazy, on all three. All right, now that we're on zero and it's nice and tightened up to where we can get clicks, go ahead and keep it on zero. We're gonna get the zero stop by screwing the zero all the way down, then slowly backing it up, just barely, and then we'll tighten that brass all the way. And now, what that should allow us to do is be able to dial up and stop right on zero. Very nice. Now for the windage, it's the same except without the zero stop. You don't do a zero stop for windage. All right, pushing it a little bit further. We're at just under 650 yards with some crazy winds. Let's go ahead and see what we can do. Ooh, just snuck a little low left there. I'm gonna go for top right. All right, that's a hit on the right side. Just under that last impact. All right, just left. That was dead on.
Got it.
Dead on. Ah, bottom left, I got cocky. This gun looks great. It shoots okay, as you can see, but it is so punishing. I'm getting gassed in the face. My gosh. All right, well, it's certainly a showstopper. If looks can kill, this thing really doesn't need a fire, but hey, it puts it on at 640 yards and seemed to track very, very nicely to get impacts that early. So there you guys go. A little bit of shooting on the, what people refer to as the Mark 14. It's the M1A in the EBR chassis, showcasing the new Arken Optics EP5. It's a hell of a lot of optic for the money. And like I said, with that certain particular purchasing, there goes the gun. When you go ahead and add those to the bag, you use coupon code Texas Plinking. You get the whole kit and caboodle for under 600 bucks. Rifle not included, but there you go. So hopefully you guys can still hear me. I'm like shouting, but that does it for this video. You'll see more of this in the near future. But yeah, see you guys next time. Take care.